Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into Tesla this time, 2024. It was a wild year for them. A lot happened, so we're going to unpack this big year in review article, for those who want the highlights without reading the whole thing.
Right. And I think the big story is self-driving. This year was when Tesla really, doubled down on their autonomous ambitions.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we have FSD Beta V12, launched in February. They called it their first end-to-end version. What does that even mean?
Okay, so think of it like this. The older versions, they could do some things well, like highway driving or navigating city streets, right? But V12, it's designed to do, well, everything, from when you leave your driveway to parking at your destination, all on its own.
So is that when they dropped the ultrasonic sensors and went all in on cameras?
Yeah, pretty much. It was controversial, definitely.
Yeah.
Tesla was relying on those sensors before, right? But they're saying humans drive with their eyes, so cars should too. AI and cameras, that's their bet now.
And by May, they'd even replace the wheel nag, the thing that makes sure you're holding the wheel, with this new vision-based attention monitoring. The car is using cameras to watch you.
Yep, even when it's driving, like a co-pilot making sure you're paying attention.
Okay, so then we had Smart Summon getting a big update in September. The early versions were, well, not so smart.
Oh, yeah. You could barely move it a few feet without issues.
But now it can come get you from across a parking lot, dodge stuff, avoid people. They actually made it smart.
That's the idea, right? And this is all building toward Robotaxis, right? Which is what that big We Robot event in October was all about, I'd say.
Oh yeah, that event. That felt like a sneak peek at Tesla's future. They had demos of unsupervised FSD, those Cybercabs driving around, even Optimus, their robot.
Optimus serving drinks, yeah.
That's got to be a top mono for 2024. Okay, but seriously, they're really pushing the boundaries of AI and robotics. And they're not just focusing on the expensive cars, right? Didn't they launch that cheaper Model 3 in Mexico in August?
That's right, in August. And it did have some different features, made people wonder if it was a test for a more global, affordable model.
Like something to compete with those other EVs coming out?
Could be, yeah.
But they also launched a Model 3 Performance in April with adaptive suspension and track mode V3. What's all that about?
Adaptive suspension basically means the car can adjust its suspension as you drive to handle different roads. Smooth for cruising, firm for sportier driving, and Track Mode V3 is software that optimizes the car for track driving.
Faster, more responsive.
Yeah, and it can even analyze your laps and all that.
So they're going for the everyday driver. AD the speed demons. Smart.
And then there's the Cybertruck. The Foundation Series delivery started in November, years after they first showed it.
People were really excited about that one. Okay, so lots of new models and self-driving stuff.
Yeah.
But did they do anything on the software and hardware side?
Definitely. Tons of updates, big and small, all to improve the, user experience.
Give me the highlights.
So in June, they announced Hardware 5. This is the next generation of their onboard computers. It's what processes all that data from the cameras and sensors.
And that's necessary for the unsupervised FSD.
Exactly. And they also mentioned that Hardware 4 and AI 5 are on the way, which is exciting, right? They also reassured everyone with the older Hardware 3 that they'll get free upgrades if their current hardware can't handle unsupervised FSD.
That's good to know. What about those smaller software updates? Anything that made life better for Tesla owners?
Back in January, there were new voice commands, and they even hinted at a smart assistant like Siri or Alexa, but for your Tesla, at least in China for now. Then in March, they rolled out ultra-wideband support, which meant eventually you could open the trunk and frunk hands-free.
It's got to be a crowd pleaser.
Oh, and in July, weather forecast, parental controls, and finally, Amazon and YouTube Music integration. No more messing around with Bluetooth or O cords.
Those are the little things that people appreciate.
Right. And one last thing, in November, they added a service history feature right in the car, so now all your maintenance records are digital and right there.
That's super convenient. Okay, they did a lot this year. Any missteps along the way?
Well, there were some early problems with the auto wipers back in May.
Auto wipers, how do you mess those up?
Well, they're supposed to use the cameras to detect rain and adjust. But the thing is, they worked perfectly for the FSD system.
So it worked for the AI, but not for the human drivers.
It's ironic, right?
It shows we're still early in this whole self-driving thing. And on that note, did you notice how much they updated the iOS Tesla app this year, while the Android app seemed to get left behind?
Yeah, the iOS app got a major update in September. The Android one, not so much, probably because of how closely Tesla works with Apple.
The iOS versus Android battle continues, even with Tesla. But It is interesting how important software is becoming to the whole Tesla experience.
It's not just about the car anymore, it's the whole ecosystem, the software, the charging, the energy stuff. Tesla's thinking big picture.
Okay, so that's a lot to digest, even for just the first part of our deep dive. Self-driving, new models, robots, software, the whole shebang. It's clear Tesla had a busy year. But what does it all mean? What are the implications of all this?
Those are the questions we'll tackle in part 2. We'll dive into unsupervised FSD, the challenges of a more automated future, and the ethical stuff that comes with all this technology.
So stick around for that, folks. We'll be right back after a short break.
You know, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there are a couple more things from 2024 I want to mention. Smaller stuff, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, what else did I miss?
So remember those adaptive headlights, the ones they finally approved in Europe in January?
Yeah, those were cool, weren't they?
Yeah, they can actually adjust the light beam so you don't blind oncoming drivers, but you still get max visibility.
Any word on when we'll see them in North America?
Good question. Probably depends on regulations, right?
But a Tesla VP did say in October they're working on it.
Fingers crossed. What else did they roll out this year? Oh, weather forecast in the car's interface, so you don't need your phone.
Nice.
Parental controls, too. And, oh yeah, remember this. Amazon and YouTube Music. Finally.
I do. A lot of people were happy about that one.
Makes a difference, those little things. And here's another one. In November, they put a service history feature right in the car. Digital record of all your maintenance, right there.
So you don't have to dig through papers.
Exactly. Super convenient, especially if you ever want to sell the car.
Okay, good point. So we talked about that cheaper Model 3 they launched in Mexico. Do you think it means they're planning a more, I don't know, bare bones Tesla for the average person?
Could be. It had different features, fabric seats, no fog lights, like they were testing the waters.
To compete with all the new EVs coming out?
Maybe, yeah. Smart move, if so.
So what's the big takeaway then from Tesla's 2024?
I think it's that they're not just a car company anymore. They're an AI and tech company. The self-driving stuff, the robots, even the energy solutions. They're pushing boundaries.
It's like they're building the future, not just cars.
Right. But it comes with responsibility, you know. We got to talk about the ethical side of all this.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, take unsupervised FSD. Who's responsible if something goes wrong? Is it the driver, even though they're not driving? Is it Tesla? It's complicated, and we need to figure that out.
Yeah, those are important questions.
Definitely. And remember, this isn't just a Tesla thing. It's going to affect everybody. We need those rules and safeguards in place before this stuff gets too widespread.
True. But let's be real. That We Robot event was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Optimus serving drinks, that was amazing. What else stood out to you?
Honestly, their commitment to unsupervised FSD, those demos, the cars driving themselves in all sorts of situations, it's clear they're all in on it.
But didn't they have to change their FSD roadmap a few times this year? I thought some features got delayed.
Yeah, Unpark and Reverse got pushed back to December, and they still want to launch FSD outside North America in early 2025, but it's a reminder that this stuff takes time. There are always hiccups.
Even Tesla can't predict everything perfectly. Nope. But at least they're transparent about it.
Makes sense.
So what about that Cybercab they showed off? Pretty wild, huh?
Straight out of a movie. Do you think they'll actually make it?
Hard to say. It got everyone's attention, that's for sure. The design, the features. But who knows if it'll ever be a real product.
Only time will tell, I guess.
But it's fun to think about. That's what makes Tesla so interesting. They're always pushing the envelope.
They're not afraid to fail.
Speaking of which, wasn't there a Robovan at the event too? Like a robot van?
I vaguely remember that, yeah. What was the point of that?
Not totally clear, but it shows they're looking at all sorts of ways to use their robotics tech, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what else they're cooking up.
So where do we go from here? We talked about Tesla's past, present, and future. What are your final thoughts on this crazy year?
Well, buckle up, because it's only going to get crazier. Tesla's at the forefront of a tech revolution, and it's going to change everything. How we live, how we work. It's exciting and a little scary. Yeah, no kidding. All right, so we've covered a lot about Tesla's 2024, the tech, the robots, the new models. But what does it all mean for the average person, for someone listening right now?
That's the big question, right? I mean, yeah, we have cool new gadgets and faster cars, but Tesla's making changes that could affect all of us. Think about it. If this unsupervised FSD actually works, how will that change how we commute or cities look, even if we own cars at all?
It's almost too big to think about. We've always been the ones in control driving. What happens when the car is making the decisions? Are we just passengers then?
That's a good point, and it's not just about, practicality. It's a philosophical thing, too. Driving, for a lot of people, it means freedom, control. Do we lose that if we let go of the wheel, or do we gain something else? More time to work, relax, actually enjoy the ride instead of being stressed in traffic.
It feels like a whole new era of transportation, but nobody knows the rules yet. What about the impact on, society? Fewer accidents, maybe? Less traffic? Cities designed differently because we don't need as much parking?
It's all possible. Imagine commutes become productive time. Parking garages turn to parks. Accidents from human error are a thing of the past. That's the optimistic view, at least. There are downsides, too, of course.
Like what? What are the challenges we might run into?
Job losses. What about all the truck drivers, taxi drivers, anyone who drives for a living? If cars can drive themselves, what happens to them? And how do we make sure these systems are safe from hackers? Someone could take control of thousands of cars. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's not all going to be perfect, that's for sure. Makes you wonder, are we even ready for this? As a society, I mean.
That's the conversation we need to be having. This isn't just a Tesla problem, it's a problem for everyone. We have to figure out the rules, the ethics, how to keep things safe before this technology takes over.
So it's not just cool cars and robots. It's about being smart about how we use this stuff. But I'm still curious about the robots. Did Tesla say anything about what's next for Optimus?
They didn't say much, keeping it under wraps for now. But the CEO did say Optimus could actually be bigger than their car business someday. Yeah, it was a pretty bold statement. It's like they're trying to change everything. Not just cars, but transportation, logistics, even healthcare maybe.
It's hard to even imagine.
It's about reshaping how we live and work. And all this is coming from a company that started making, electric sports cars?
Yeah.
It's impressive, their ambition, how they think big.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot, the good, the bad, the potential future that Tesla is creating. It's clear they're not just an automaker anymore. They're building something entirely new.
And whether you love Tesla or just find it interesting, you got to pay attention. What they do now could change the world tomorrow. So stay curious, stay informed, and buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride.
Thanks for listening, everyone.